Let's talk Giants Bills. Giants were not favored in this game. News alert, breaking news. It's the biggest underdog spread of the season. 15.5 points. The Bills were favored. And it's easy to see why. Daniel Jones inactive due to the neck, and starting left tackle, all pro tackle, Andrew Thomas, out again because of the hamstring. Center John Michael Schmitz out with the shoulder. Backup tackle, swing tackle, Matt Parrott out with the shoulder. DJ Davidson out with the knee. And then Bobby McKean, Javarius Owens, who haven't really seen too much of the field, but might play a role on special teams. They were out. So, I mean, Saquon played. High ankle sprain. I was very concerned about that for pretty much the entire first half, 3 quarters. It's just like he does not look like he's running well at all. He's just hesitating, not hitting the hole. It doesn't look like he's willing to, his cuts are not crisp, right? So a lot of like the injury report for this week was like 17 players or something like that. Like pretty much a third of the roster was labeled as questionable. So it's like, 15.5 point underdogs. Yeah, that makes sense. I got you. So Josh Azudu is starting at left tackle. Justin Pugh, who's literally straight off the couch, starting at left guard. Ben Brederson, normally a guard, starting at center. Mark Lewinsky at right guard, I believe. Or was it Marcus McKeithen? Might have been Marcus McKeithen at right guard. And then Evan Neal at right tackle, who is also banged up. So it's like, all right, a guy who has not played in over a year and who expected to get maybe 20 to 25 snaps is starting at left guard. And within less than a dozen plays, less than 10 plays, maybe a little more than 5 plays, Azudu goes down with the toe injury, and Justin Pugh is now our starting left tackle. It's like, holy fuck. So entering this game, the Giants pass block win rate since ESPN started tracking in 2017 so far is up this year, is up there. Sorry, it's not up. No, dude, is up there with their worst offensive line performances since 2017. So we were at 42.5% in 2017, which is 31st. We were 30th in 2018, 12th in 2019, dead last in 2020, 28th in 2021, 29th in 2022, and we're 28th this year. But our 46.5% is like third lowest since 2017. So hard to believe considering all the numbers are being thrown around. But, I just said in my preview last week, I just hope we don't get blown out. Let's keep it competitive. If we lose by a score, I think that's super encouraging, and that means we're doing some right things. And sure enough, we showed up, and we took it to the Buffalo Bills, who blew out the Washington Commanders, who blew out the Miami Dolphins, who have Super Bowl aspirations, are Super Bowl contenders, and have one of the best defenses in the league. I think they led going into the game. They led the league in sacks, and we've given up I think we've given up the most sacks. If not, we're like top 2, top 3. And we now have Tyrod Taylor, who has a tendency to take more sacks, I believe, than Daniel Jones. So all signs are pointing to, this is going to be another blowout. And wow, we probably should have won. I mean, you look at the chances and the opportunities we had, the way that our defense played. I mean, the defense, that's the best game I've seen them play in a long, long time. And I think that's dating back maybe 2020. We had a couple of really, really good performances from our defense. Before that, maybe 2016. So, last year our defense was good. I don't think we were ever that good to hold an offense like Buffalo's to what we did. Is just outstanding. And, I think the haters will say, the detractors will say, well, it's because Brian Daboll is so familiar with Josh Allen, his lover, the apple of his eye, that he's so familiar with him that he knows his weaknesses and he can expose them. He can work with Wink to ensure that we're one step ahead. And maybe that is the case. And maybe this is just a one-off, and it's, I tweeted early on in the game that this has the same vibes as that 23-10 upset of the Denver Broncos in 2017 when we were like basically 1-4, 1-5, I think, going into that primetime game. It might have been a Thursday night football game. And I was like, Justin Pugh is our starting tackle. And we have no shot. And then we just ran the ball down their throats, just ran and ended up winning the game. A big upset because I believe Denver was really good that year, if I remember correctly, or they started off really well. So it felt like the similar vibes to that, where it's like, wow, we forced a 3-and-out on defense, the first drive. That's kind of unusual. And then from every defensive drive from that point on, it was just like, oh my, like this is happening. I think we got a real shot here. And then it all went to shit at the end of the first half. Anyway, this was the lowest scoring game since the 13-7 victory over the Eagles on November 28th, 2021. That was the game where Saquon broke free on that long touchdown and gave the peace sign, little Tyreek Hill cheetah action at like the 30-yard line or 40-yard line when it was like there were still guys in hot pursuit. So yeah, this 14-9 outcome. And I guess you could say if Bass hits his 2 field goals, it's then 20-9. But then if you think, okay, if we hit that field goal at the end of the first half, it's 20-12. We're still in a position to score and tie it at the end if you get 2 points. The Giants are the only NFL team in the Super Bowl era to have more rushing yards, more passing yards, fewer interceptions thrown, fewer fumbles lost, and fewer missed field goals than our opponent, but still lose. Teams prior to this game, NFL teams had been 134-0 in the Super Bowl era when doing all that in a game. And that includes regular season and postseason. Jesus Christ. It's historic. And I don't want to say it's all been historically bad. The majority of what's been thrown out there in terms of the stats has been historically bad, like historically bad. I guess the one historically good one is like the biggest comeback against the Cardinals where Daniel Jones was doing things in a half that no other quarterback has ever done. Those are like the 2 historically good things that have happened. So hopefully there's more historically good things, and this can go down as like a truly just historic season instead of historically bad season. But yeah, another historically bad stat. Woof. That it just blows my mind. So on offense, we didn't score an offensive touchdown for the 3rd consecutive game, and we have not scored one in the first half this season. Part of me wants us to do that the entire season. Like still win games, but still not score an offensive touchdown in the first half, just to drive people nuts. Buffalo entered the game with an NFL high 13 takeaways, and the Giants did not commit a turnover for the 2nd consecutive week. And I don't think there was anything that was really that close. Like I don't think Tyrod threw any balls that could have been picked that I can remember. And I don't think anyone fumbled or came close to fumbling, and there are plenty of chances. So that's pretty impressive. Giants converted 10 of 19 third down opportunities, their most successes since they had 10 against the Eagles in December 2017. I think there was another game that came down the wire. Was that the one where friggin' what's-his-face hit the 60-plus yarder? Probably. Barkley ended up rushing for 93 yards and 24 carries. They were both game-high totals. His expected yards per carry was at 2.4, and there was a period, it might have been early in the 4th quarter and at the end of the 3rd quarter, where he had like 18 carries for 32 yards, which is less than 2 yards per carry. So as Collinsworth was pointing out, it's right around what they was expected to do. And then right after Collinsworth said that on cue, he ran for 61 yards and 6 carries in the 4th quarter with a game-long 34-yard run. So he had the Giants' longest run of the season, and then next play had the Giants' longest run of the season, which, 34 yards, not that long, but, you take what you can get. Wan'Dale Robinson led the Giants with 8 catches for 62 yards. Darius Slayton had a team-high 69 receiving yards. Nice. On 4 catches, including a game-long 31-yarder. He had another catch down the sideline, I believe. Is that the one? or was that the one to Hyatt? I think there was another catch that he could have had, but was negated by a ticky-tack ineligible man downfield penalty, which that and offensive pass interference, like pick plays, have just like we can't avoid it anymore. It's like a stink on us that we can't wash off. Darren Waller had 5 catches, 43 yards on 7 targets. It's wild reading that stat line because it didn't feel like we were targeting him at all for most of the game until that final drive, I think, which makes sense. I mean, like if he's being singled up and there's only one guy in his area, I even think if there's 2 guys in his area, and he's outsizing most people on the field, most DBs and linebackers. So it's like I would just force feed the ball to him. And we pretty much did on that final drive, and it paid off. Jalen Hyatt, 3 catches, 21 yards on 4 targets. Probably should be targeted a bit more. I think he had a nice long catch that was negated by a penalty, a bullshit penalty. And I mean, great footwork along the sideline to get in. And then he had that amazing 4th and 5 catch to extend that last drive at the end of the game where he had to go up and then take a hit over the middle. So that's, I think, what, the major knock on Hyatt for most of the offseason and during the draft leading the training camp was, well, he's just a one-dimensional kind of guy. He's got speed, so he's just going to run verts. And the fact that we can now see him as someone who, I mean, that was huge. I think not just for fans, but for the coaching staff to say, hey, this guy can go over the middle and catch a ball and take a hit. Because, I mean, you look at Wan'Dale Robinson and you look at Jalen Hyatt and you're like, oh, my God, I could very easily see them like breaking in half on the field. Wan'Dale has so many injury issues already in his short career so far with the Giants. And it's like, even when you start to see him take off like he did against the Lions last year, and you can see like his potential, it just seems like every game he's getting really dinged up and battered and bruised. But what was impressive to me about him in this game was his ability to just get back up, dust him off. He's limping. You can tell there's a noticeable limp, but he finishes the game. And, to have 8 catches when you're so dinged like that is really huge in my book. And I think you gain a lot of respect from a lot of the fan base. Same with Jalen Hyatt. These are not just speedsters, speed demons that are so soft. They're actually kind of tough, which is nice to see. Christian Benford led the Bills in solo tackles. He had a tackle for a loss. Terrell Bernard had 3 tackles for loss. He was kind of a menace. Greg Rousseau was in the backfield a lot. He had 2 tackles for loss. And then A.G. Epinesa and Shaq Lawson each had a tackle for loss. Leonard Floyd also had a sack. Epinesa had a sack. So it looked like, I mean, those first few drives on offense, it was like same old. It was like, it doesn't matter who we have at quarterback because, there's just no stopping the pass rush. And, it was looking like full on disaster mode with Pugh at left tackle because he had a couple of false starts. He was getting beaten very easily around the corner speed wise. And it was like, well, I mean, what do you expect? There's not much you can do. I mean, he just literally straight off the couch. And then he settled down and he had a phenomenal game to the point where we'll get to it in a bit, but it just says a lot to me about the front office and the coaching staff. Since 1999, only 4 teams have had the ball in the red zone on the last play of each half and not scored any points on either play. I'm surprised there are 3 other teams because I have never seen anything like that. No team has done that within the 10-yard line. Well, there you go. And that's what I'm trying to get at is like those other 3 teams were not within the 10-yard line. And to be on the 1 goddamn yard line both times at the end of each half and not score any fucking points is just criminal. So let's talk about that last play at the end of the first half, I guess. It's been talked to death, but it's simple in my mind. I guess normally the play call when they make that play call, and Tyrod Taylor's a veteran, so he should know better. But even his explanation, it's like, I understand, but dude, I don't have any timeouts. So maybe he thought we had a timeout. I don't know. But I could very easily see this. Like, how many plays have we seen where it's literally turn around, hand the ball to Saquon, and let him friggin' Air Jordan over everyone and just jump over everyone like he has in the past? I don't think this was the same exact kind of run play that he checked to. I don't think it was. But whoever was on the right side of the line got beaten very badly. And then, of course, Barkley gets tackled, and they kind of don't let him up easily, and so the time runs out. So it was at 14 seconds when we ran that run play. You could have possibly run 3 pass plays in that time. Check to a run play. Barkley gets stuffed, and we can't get up in time to clock it for the field goal. Oh, hope you heard that. Yeah. So, Tyrod takes the blame. There were some people that were criticizing Brian Daboll for going ham on Taylor when he comes off the field. And it's like, that's a veteran. You don't talk to a veteran. It's like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? And I love that there are finally people coming out and being like, no, defending Daboll, because he deserves to be defended. Although I'll get to it in a second, because I think that, is it wearing thin, on the players? Like him freaking out all the time and losing his temper. Like, is that eroding whatever relationship he's built with these players? I don't think so. And I would hope that the players respect it. Like, and maybe it's just a different time, different era, different generation. But, there were people tweeting, maybe been Lawrence Tynes, maybe been, I forget who else. But, even I think Will Compton from Bustin' the Boys even chimed in on it, like defending Daboll and saying, like, look at Tom Coughlin, was screaming his balls off, would scream his balls off at Lawrence Tynes or whoever, Eli sometimes, for making bonehead mistakes. He would get in your face. Matt Dodge, he would lose his mind if you did something really dumb. And then, and Bill Parcells. I mean, the amount of fights that he got in with Phil Simms, my beloved God, Phil Simms. And, I think part of Phil liked it, and it like stoked a fire within him to play better, just show up Parcells. So, different times, different players, I guess. But you can't let that slide and just be like, oh, well, get him next time. I have no problem with showing emotion. I don't think it was showing anyone up. I don't like in the moment. I think literally he was so emotional. He couldn't do the halftime interview with Melissa Stark. Had to apologize because he's like, my head's not in the right space. Like, I'm sorry. I just witnessed one of the dumbest things I've ever come across in my football career. So yeah, he was heated and he had a right to be heated. And I think a lot of fans were heated. I mean, I fired off a tweet, no big deal, expressing my anger. I've, in all my years of watching football, and the stat backs it up, I've never seen anything like that, where you're at the one, you run the ball, you run out of time with 14 goddamn ticks left on the ticker. So I have no problem with Daboll reaming out Tyrod. And I don't even think he went that ape on him. I think it was like a lot of like exasperated, like heightened volume talking, but not like yelling and profanity. I don't know. I don't think he was putting him down, or I honestly don't think he was doing that. I think he was just absolutely confounded as to why that happened. So that's at minimum 3 points off the board. And I, along with a lot of veteran Giants fans who have seen this shit before, at the same time wrote the same message on Twitter. It was like, that play is going to come back to haunt us. That just cost us the game. Like, I was watching the live stream, a clip from the live stream with electric chair live stream from Barstool, where it's like Rico Bosco, double Vodka Don, Evan, and the Giants fans, and to a T, and those are younger guys, to a T, they're all like, that's game. That's game. You can't make that level of mistake and bounce back from it and win, especially when you're the 1-4 Giants and you've been so bad for all but 2 quarters of the season. So, and you're more than you're past a quarter of the season. So, yeah, and it ended up biting us in the ass. Because what ends up happening is Bills end up going up 14-9, and then we get the ball back, and we have to go down and score a tutty versus it's just getting Graham Gano's field goal range, which he was, I think his range, I forget what they said his pregame range was in warmups, but it's got to be in the 50s. So you just got to get to like the 42, dude, or something like that, right? No, the 32, right? No, 33. Not impossible. And then the drive at the end of the game. I was kind of wavering in my internal win probability, that I was clocking in my head like, okay, do I really want to get excited about this? This feels like it could come undone at any minute. It feels like the Bills could just go touchdown, like 3 touchdowns, quick touchdowns in a row, and we're just like reeling. And then we kept hanging in there. And we then get the ball back with a few minutes left, and Tyrod just engineers a nice drive. Like, and Collinsworth is saying, oh, plenty of time. And meanwhile, Giants fans are like, I don't know about that. I mean, we don't exactly have Mahomes back there. We're not exactly the Chiefs. We're not even the Bills. That the guys that can just like in a 2-minute drill take up like 30 seconds of time and score. So, but methodically just hitting, and I was kind of interested in the Bills' approach to that, where they were so willing to give up the sidelines, like 5 yards here, 5 yards there, 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards. And it's just each play takes 2-3 seconds times 5, times 3 times in a row. So it's like, we got into Bills territory fairly quickly. And then that fourth and 5 play. We'll get into the Tyrod Taylor versus Daniel Jones discussion. I don't know that 2023 Daniel Jones makes the play that Tyrod Taylor made on that 4th and 5, where it's like pocket collapsing. He kind of, he quickly makes it look like he pulls the ball down and looks like he's going to try and scramble or run or evade the pressure. And then almost immediately pops right back up and throws a dart to Jalen Hyatt, I believe, who makes a great catch and holds on to the ball. And then, I mean, yeah, I think everyone in the stadium and watching and those all around the world knew that we were going to throw to Darren Waller repeatedly. Once we got down the red zone, it was like deep in the red zone. It was like, we're just going to keep going to that guy. And of course, I think it was maybe 3rd down or 3rd and goal or 4th and goal with maybe 2 seconds left. Final ball goes to Waller, but there's a pass interference. We get the ball at the 1. At that point, I started clapping. I sat up in bed. I took notice because I was like, we are going to win this fucking game. No shot do we get the ball at the 1 yet again and not score. We're winning this game. And so I was like, I can't believe we're going to upset the Bills. This really changes the outlook on the season. This changes our approach to the NFL trade deadline. And I got to be honest, didn't love the play call. I think it might have been a fake to Saquon, but I don't know if he even got to the fake. And then it was just like, we're going to throw it up to like Darren Waller's going to win the 1-on-1, which I get it. Why get cute with things? You don't want to get too cute. You don't want to get too creative when you're down there. Although, the Bills ran that play that I think that the Chiefs ran a lot on the Eagles in the Super Bowl, where it's like, we're going to motion our fast dude one way, snap the ball. We're going to snap the ball and he's going to immediately go right back to where he motioned from. And it's like never covered. It's always open. It's never not open. So, kind of wish we saw something like that towards the end of the game, but I was more of a proponent. Like, people were saying, like, there were plenty of fans and people, people saying like, you have the best running back, one of the best running backs in the NFL. You have your best playmaker in the backfield, and you're not going to give him the ball in the most important play at the 1 yard line. Like, how soon we forget? Do you not remember what happened at the end of the first half when we tried to run the ball at the 1? We got stiffed. So, no, don't hand the ball off to Saquon. I could see if there was a little more deception involved. I think if they did like almost like a counter, not like with the line, but with the quarterback, kind of a reverse open, instead of like, hey, I'm going to turn to my right and hand it off, like turn to right, but I'm handing it off on the left. I forget what that run is called. It's like a counter, but just for the quarterback. Like, because if the linebacker sees the Tyrod open up his right shoulder back, they're going to think, oh, the play's going this way. And then he turns at the last second. It's like a counter draw almost, but not a draw. I'm not explaining this correctly. But the quarterback then keeps turning, and then Saquon is running on the left side of the quarterback. And I think that would have been a little more successful. Anyway, why aren't we booting? Why are we not booting? Why are we not spread, fake one way, boot back the other way with Tyrod Taylor? Because I can almost assure you he scores or he throws for the score. It's like I have 100% certainty, no doubt that would have worked. And instead, it's kind of it's very reminiscent of that throw that Eli made to Larry Donnell in 2015 when we beat the 49ers on Monday Night Football. I think it was Monday Night Football, where Larry goes up and brings it down. Very, like almost identical to that. The difference being that, what's his name? Taron Johnson. It just straight up held Darren Waller the entire play. And we don't get the call. Waller got his hand on it. I mean, it's multiple things. If the throw isn't that high, like, because Tyrod, he didn't need to throw it that high. I know I got it. He wanted to get over that line. Maybe he thought someone was going to jump, but it's just too damn high, that's tough to do to Darren Waller. Again, if he's not held, he can jump higher with both hands and catch the ball. But I think if the throw were lower, I'm talking like helmet height, maybe just a little bit helmet height, and Waller still can't get his arms up and it hits him in the face mask, I think you got to call it. Like people are saying, well, they're not going to call back-to-back DPIs, which is horseshit. I mean, I've seen that a billion times in the Chiefs-Raiders games, always come down to that, where it's always the final play at the end of the game. And like the Chiefs get a million calls for them to extend when they don't convert. So I've seen it in action plenty of times. So that seems like a sorry excuse. I mean, the referees were just god awful all game. I mean, phantom call on Leonard Williams, defensive holding that brought back a stop. We had Evan Neal down the field, which brought back a long gain. We had roughing the passer on Bobby Okereke, which is just, I don't know what you're supposed to do in that situation. It's just so outrageous. But yeah, that last play of the game, I would like to have seen a better play call, a boot perhaps. I love that we started moving the pocket with Tyrod Taylor. I don't understand why we didn't do it more. I would have liked to see that more. And I think it would have worked down at the goal line. And yeah, that sucks because that's a W. And I tweeted this out. I think that's the kind of loss that will prevent us from getting. That's going to be the one loss. Like if we do turn things around and we do win the games that we think we can win or we're capable of winning, that's going to be the one loss that could cost us the playoffs. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but that feels like the kind of loss that like we're going to go 9-8, like we think we can, and we think that 9-8 is good enough to make the playoffs, and it's not. We're essentially the 2022 Detroit Lions, I think, at this point. I think that's where we are. I think we're the 2022 Detroit Lions. I know Art Stapleton has pointed that out. How they started out 1-5, finished 9-8, I think. So it feels like we're going to go 9-8, and we could have gone 10-7, and it was because of that Bills loss. So it sucks. But Justin Pugh, dude, there's not enough you can say about this. Hasn't played tackle with any regularity since 2017 when he's with the Giants. He played 38 pass blocking snaps at left tackle Sunday night per Next Gen. He allowed just 3 pressures, and that pressure rate of 7.9% is the lowest of any Giants left tackle in 2023. And here is where I go on a rant about Justin Pugh and how his signing and performance is a condemnation. Is that what it is? An indictment, if you will, of this front office and the coaching staff. How the head coach, the GM, the offensive line coach can go into this offseason and say, we don't need Nick Gates. We don't need John Feliciano. We don't need so-and-so. We don't need so-and-so. We don't need Tyree Phillips. We're good. We gooch. We don't need depth. Andrew Thomas is going to play all 17 games. He's going to be an all-pro again. Evan Neal is going to take the next step. He's going to be, en route to becoming what we hope to be, a Pro Bowler. I mean, can you imagine if we didn't get John Michael Schmitz? I guess we would have drafted another center. Maybe. I'd have to go back to the draft, but like the plan for the offensive line was absolutely stupefying when you think about it. We would kill for friggin' Nick Gates now. I would almost kill for John Feliciano right now. And I don't think either one of them was that expensive. Unlike that 2018 purge where it was like literally Justin Pugh thought it was going to get cash money, and I think he did. And then like Weston Richburg got a fairly good deal. I don't know what he's up to right now, but it wasn't like that. So to not bring them back, not just to have like proven depth and just like get a guy that's a little bit better and start that guy. I just, we got lucky with John Michael Schmitz. But to think that Parrott was going to be okay, to think that Lemieux was going to be okay, to think that McKeithen was going to be okay, to think that all your depth was going to be okay and serviceable, and then to get your doors blown off and to look like absolute doggy doo-doo through the first quarter of the season, and now you're scrambling, you're just full out scrambling for players. That is really bad luck. That makes me question your talent evaluation. Not only your talent evaluation, but your talent development. What are you doing? And the fact that Justin Pugh can be signed on October 3rd, within 3 days, makes the quote of the goddamn season and looks like a friggin' leader, and then is able to get inserted into the starting lineup, was signed to the practice squad for like $20,000 or something like that, some crazy amount like that, is able to elevate from the practice squad within 10 days, within a week, pretty much, and start at left guard and then move to left tackle and put up that kind of friggin' number. That's all you need to know. That's all the evidence you need to fire your fucking offensive line coach and to completely take a damn long, hard look at who you got scouting and recruiting and keeping your eye and your finger on the pulse of offensive linemen in college and in free agency, dude. Because you can see what's happening now. Josh Azudu goes out with a toe injury. It just looks like fuck turf, dude. I hate turf so bad. It killed my knee, and I think it just murdered Josh Azudu's toe, which sucks because he's now on IR. And so because he's on IR, we've now signed Joshua Miles from the Falcons practice squad, who's played like 23 snaps over the past 4 years. Didn't even play in 2020 or 2022, like in a game. We signed him, and then we signed Tyree Phillips, a dude that we had in training camp, but mysteriously cut because everyone in the mother had him on the final 53-man roster. And you thought Matt Parrott was better than him. So you kept Matt Parrott. Matt Parrott stinks. And so now you got to sign him off the Eagles practice squad, Tyree Phillips. So good to have Tyree Phillips. Good to have Joshua Miles. For whatever reason, Justin Pugh remains on the practice squad and is not signed to a contract. I don't understand why you wouldn't sign him unless he's asking for something absolutely ridiculous, which I can't imagine him doing. He's 33 years old. He's coming off a torn ACL. Okay, look at his spot track. Pugh signed a 5-year, almost $45 million contract with the Cardinals, including a $10 million signing bonus and almost $16 million guaranteed for an average annual salary of almost $9 million. That ran through 2022. So he was a free agent after the 2022 season, and no one signed him. And so he got into real estate. Now he's their starting left tackle. I don't think they have his market value here, but currently his base salary is almost $65,000 with the Giants, which is obviously, you know, if he's a practice squad player, but they're only allowed to elevate him from the practice squad 2 more times. But while he's on the practice squad, so there's the issue of like, do we have enough money to sign him? Right. I think that's the big one. Looking that up right now. I think we have $5 million. I don't think this is going to tell me total cap. We have an estimated cap space, I think right now, of almost $7 million. Ooh. Like, you can't use all that to sign Justin Pugh, right? But you kind of have to. If you think you're going to be competitive and you think you can turn it around, if you think Andrew Thomas can come back and play, you think Daniel Jones can come back and play, you know, if you think that can happen and Justin Pugh moves in at guard, a lot of people are saying right guard because they want him to work with Evan Neal, which I don't hate, or at left guard. And then you have Brederson. Once John Michael Schmitz comes back healthy, you move Brederson to left guard, then Pugh at right guard, or Pugh at left guard, Brederson at right guard. I forget which position Brederson plays better, but he's obviously a better guard than a center. So it's a lot of ifs, and I don't know that we have the money to sign him. Additionally, when he's on the practice squad, other teams can claim him or sign him or offer him a contract, and then the Giants have a chance to match that contract. So it's like someone comes along, they're like, hey, you were earning around what, 10 million, 9 million a year with the Cardinals, coming off an ACL. We'll knock it off half price. We're going to offer you $5 or $6 million a year contract. Do the Giants match that? It's like, if you really think you have a chance, it's just fucking frustrating, dude, that we're in this position in the first place, that we're now signing guys left and right off practice squads because we just didn't do the homework. We didn't do the work, the research, or we just don't have it. We're not able to judge talent on the offensive line. It just sucks, dude. I mean, it just, again, Justin Pugh I put out a video about this, is a bittersweet reminder of how poor the Giants offensive line has been, especially since he left. We were like, I don't want to say we ran Justin Pugh out of town, but we also were like, I don't think we were that, I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering, this old brain, not exactly at 100%, but it feels like we should have re-signed him. And, there are plenty of, like, I want to say troll tweet accounts, but I want to say enragement Twitter accounts where, like, they purposely put stuff out there because they know it's going to piss people off. Some of them are just egregious. And then some of them are like, things that make you go, things that make you go, one of them was like Justin Pugh not re-signed, goes to left guard, left tackle, becomes like a top offensive lineman. Eric Flowers leaves the Giants and he is a good, better player with the Commanders. Well, Hernandez leaves the Giants. He's a better player with the Cardinals. Like, a lot of offensive linemen who are doing better with their other teams than they are with the Giants. And then teams that we've signed, they were better before us, and now they are at playing their career worst with us. So it pains me to know that we, I don't know. It still feels like you're maybe at this rate. I don't know that we're ever going to get the offensive line solved. It's like, in my head, it feels like it could be a year or two before we see like a good, solid offensive line. And by that time, it's like, it's going to be, maybe that's our one shot. I don't know. But goddamn, this offensive line sucks. People are saying Evan Neal is playing better and he's improving. And I hope that's the case. I mean, there were no like low light clips this week, if that means anything. It seems like every week this season, we've had a low light play where it's like, what in the fudge is Evan Neal doing? We didn't really have any of that this week. So that's an improvement right there. Yeah, it is crazy though that like these are the type of games that the Giants can win and are built for. Does that make sense? Like, we're not going to run and gun with the Dolphins, right? It's just, we're not in shootout. We can't win shootout games, right? We're not the greatest show on turf, 2.0. So we really have to, and this is how we won all those games in 2022 was defense keeps us in it and we just run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and was success, moderate success. It felt like a lot of times we just didn't give up on the run, which is great, but it was mostly because our defense kept us in games, and we were able to have long methodical drives. And when you get down 14-21-0 on a couple of freak plays, that game plan went out the window, which sucks because I think they should have stuck with it, at least in the Dallas game, maybe even the Seattle game. But you could see that fourth quarter drives with Saquon running the ball, that was vintage 2022 all over again. It was like, this play worked. It's a counter trap. Glowinski pulls, blows out the guy, and then Barkley breaks it. And it was like, we just ran that same play like over and over and over again. And it feels like we just did that against the Texans for sure in 2022 and was very reminiscent in 2022. So it's like, if we can get in those kind of games, we won them in 2022. We're just not winning. We didn't win the one so far in 2023, but it feels like we would win and we could have won most of the games if this is the kind of game we can play. Defensively, like I said, best game of the season by a long, far stroke. And then I want to say best game, like I said, since 2020 or 2016 for sure. Bobby Okereke, I apologize. I lashed out at you when it looked like you gave up that long catch and run to Noah Fant in the Seahawks game for the almost touchdown. And I said the Giants should get their money back. And I'm wrong, because since that play, it feels like Okereke has balled out. He has played really well, and he has been a major contributor to the turnovers, the turnover differential being in the positive. So he forced a fumble on Gabe Davis that was recovered by Micah McFadden. The Giants 44 led to a Graham Gano field goal, and it was the second of his season and the sixth of his career. In the second quarter, he tipped a Josh Allen pass for Dawson Knox and Micah McFadden. Caught the ball for an interception at the Giants' 41-yard line. Okereke led the Giants with 11 tackles, 8 solo. McFadden was second with 7 stops, 3 solo. Okereke led the Giants with a PFF grade of 90.8, and Micah McFadden was second with the 87.9 PFF grade, 6th among all linebackers. So the Okereke McFadden combo looks like it's clicking. We were like, I can't believe we're going into the season with Micah McFadden as our starting inside linebacker again. What happened to Darian Beavers? What happened to, we even traded for Isaiah Simmons, and Isaiah Simmons didn't have a ton of snaps. I don't think. I think he had like a dozen snaps on defense. So that's not what you want to see from a guy like Isaiah Simmons, but I guess they have game plans, and sometimes the players that they have on the roster don't fit those game plans. I just hope it's not a trend. I don't want to see it continue to trend in the wrong direction. I want to see more of Isaiah Simmons on the field because I think he's a playmaker. That said, Micah McFadden is a playmaker. I mean, he's tackles for loss, fumble recoveries, picks. The Giants have forced 5 turnovers in the last 6 quarters. We had 19 all last year. So I believe we're on pace to break that. Should be. I just got to keep it up. Deonte Banks, yards given up each week per PFF. Week 1, 0 yards on 2 targets. Week 2 is 49 yards on 6 targets. Week 3 was 22 yards on 5 targets. Week 4, 34 yards on 4 targets. Week 5, 15 yards on 5 targets. Week 6, 0 yards on 3 targets. What is interesting about those stats, and given those stats, how the fuck does Stephon Diggs end up with 10 catches for 100 yards? Now, I'm not trying to knock Stephon Diggs. He's one of the best receivers in the league. If Justin Jefferson doesn't exist, maybe he is the best. No, Tyreek Hill. So he's one of the best receivers in the league. It was kind of surprising to see that stat line because it didn't feel like he really tore us up that much, but it did seem like every chunk play, big pass play was going to him. So yeah, a lot of targets, but like should we just put Tay Banks man on man on Stephon Diggs and have him shadow Stephon Diggs the whole time? Wouldn't that have worked better? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to nitpick and complain about this game plan because we did everything we possibly could to win this game defensively. I don't know if you could have played that much better a game. I mean, it could have been nice to have a sack. I understand. Josh Allen. It's like trying to bring down a friggin' eel covered in Vaseline. A salmon covered in Vaseline, as someone said on the Eagles broadcast. Like, I understand. Tough to bring him down. Kayvon got close. Josh Allen got away. Tough to bring him down. Tough to sack the guy. Big dude, 6'5", 237, stiff arms like a motherfucker. I get it. Still 0 sacks. And then James Cook averaged 5 yards per carry. So run defense still very worrying and troublesome. I thought we had upgraded our defensive line, and I thought that with Okereke in the mix that would go down, and it hasn't. Our run defense is actually worse than it was last year, which is hard to fathom. I don't want to dog pile on Kayvon, but goddamn, man, 1 tackle. Dexter Lawrence, 1 tackle. It was a big tackle. Do not get me wrong. But he was, Dexter Lawrence was like double and triple teamed almost every play. Kayvon Thibodeau, I don't think was double teamed or triple teamed. Leonard Williams had 4 solos, 2 assists. It's good to see him come to Kayvon's defense and to Dexter Lawrence's defense and push over the offensive lineman. What I wouldn't give to see that on an actual real play, like him just blowing up an offensive lineman and getting to the quarterback. I just don't feel like we're seeing a lot of that out of him. It's like I keep saying, he's not a bad player at all, but he's not like a great player deserving of that contract. It's the contract. If his contract was not like that, if he wasn't making $30 million plus a year this year, I don't think anyone is really complaining about it. But it's like, dude, look how much cap space we're utilizing for you to like not get sacks, not get tackled for loss. The numbers that matter, dude. Adoree Jackson does not look good. He really does not look good. And he left the game for a little bit because I think he had a stinger, friendly fire, and Trey Hawkins came in. But damn, man, I would have to think that Adoree and Leo are like the 2 top candidates to get traded because you lose them, and I don't, especially Adoree. You lose Adoree, I don't know that you're really. I think we have enough pieces now, and I think the secondary has come along enough with Cordell Flott, with Trey Hawkins, Banks. Like I think we have enough there to get by, and we did last year when he was injured. When Adoree was injured, we got by with the guys that are not as talented as the youngins that we have on the roster now. So honestly, I think Adoree, I would imagine, would have to be dealt if he does not get hurt. He'll probably get hurt and we can't trade him. That would be perfect. And then Leo, would be the other one we would trade. Although that one's a little bit trickier because it's such a fall off. As much as I bitch about Leo and Big Cat and how he's not giving us the production that we would have liked, given the contract, he still leaps and bounds above like Ashawn Robinson and Raheem Nunez-Roche, who, both had a tackle or an assisted tackle, and Dexter, and it shows because Dexter and Leo are playing like really high percentage of snaps. I want to say like almost 90% of defensive snaps they were on the field. So it's like the coaching staff kind of gets it. Like I think maybe they've lost confidence in Ashawn and Raheem and Nacho. I mean, can you name? I think I can think of one nice good play from Ashawn. I can't think of any good plays from Nacho. So yeah, but I mean, I don't want to be negative. Like there was a fantastic game from the defense. And if that's the kind of defense you can get moving forward, look the fuck out, dude. We're paving a road to paradise. So